Have you ever wondered why women who claim to want stability, respect, and loyalty still end up staying with men who give them none of those things? Why they pour their energy into bad boys who disappear for days, flirt openly with others, or treat them with casual disregard, while the man who shows steady care and consistency is overlooked, dismissed, or friend-zoned? The answer isn't simple. It's not just about lust, or rebellion, or immaturity. It's about a hidden psychological desire most men never recognize. And unless you see it clearly, you'll keep playing a losing game, giving too much, waiting for scraps of attention, and wondering why she never stays with you the way she stays with him. Here's the brutal truth: women are wired to respond not to words, but to emotions. And the bad boy, intentionally or not, generates a constant storm of emotion. He creates tension, he pulls her close, then withdraws. He flatters her, then teases her. He breaks routines, pushes boundaries, and forces her to chase. Every moment with him carries the possibility of reward or punishment. That uncertainty is addictive. It lights up the same parts of the brain that respond to gambling, to risk, to thrill. Her body interprets that as intensity, passion, even love. Meanwhile, you, by being steady, predictable, always available, remove the very tension that keeps her emotionally hooked. Picture this: you text her, "Good morning," every single day, without fail. She replies politely, sometimes with a smiley, sometimes with nothing. But then the bad boy goes silent for 3 days, only to send her one short message late at night. You up, and she jumps to answer. Not because he's better than you, not because she values him more, but because he has created space for her mind to obsess, for her imagination to fill in gaps, for her emotions to spike. He pulls the string tight, then loosens it suddenly, and that push-pull dynamic traps her far more effectively than your steady kindness. Now, here's where men make the fatal mistake. You see her drawn to him, and you double down on what you think will prove your worth. You give more attention, more reassurance, more patience. You try to outlove the chaos she feels, but instead of winning her, you bury yourself deeper into irrelevance. Because in her eyes, you become too safe, too easy, too predictable. You remove the emotional voltage she secretly craves. That doesn't mean you need to treat her poorly. Don't misunderstand this. The answer isn't to become a cruel imitation of the bad boy. The answer is to understand the underlying principle women respond to tension, not just affection. They are magnetized by men who command presence, who don't over-explain, who allow space, who can walk away without losing composure. The bad boy does this naturally, often because he simply doesn't care. The good man must learn to do it deliberately by caring, but never over-investing, by being available, but never too available, by giving, but never giving everything. Let me make it practical. Say you ask her out, and she gives you a vague response. Maybe, I'll let you know. Most men panic. They follow up. They try to secure a yes. They keep the conversation alive so she won't lose interest. Wrong move. That reeks of neediness. The bad boy, he shrugs, says nothing, and goes on with his life. And suddenly, she's the one texting, "Hey, are we still on for Saturday?" Why? Because his silence created space for her to feel uncertainty, which turned into desire. You must learn that art of not chasing vague responses, of not filling every silence, of letting her wonder where she stands with you. Another example. She pulls away emotionally. She stops texting as much. She acts distant. Most men react with anxiety, pressing harder. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Do you still want to see me? Those words kill attraction instantly. They hand her the control. The bad boy never asks those questions. He senses the distance, but he doesn't chase it. He invests elsewhere. And in doing so, he signals one message loud and clear: I will not beg for your attention. That's the energy women can't resist, even when they hate to admit it. You must stop trying to earn her loyalty by overcompensating. Loyalty doesn't come from effort. It comes from emotional imprint. The bad boy leaves that imprint because he embodies scarcity. His attention is never guaranteed. His time never predictable. If you want her loyalty, you must create the same scarcity without the disrespect. That means sometimes delaying responses, sometimes cutting conversations short, sometimes saying no instead of yes. Not to play games, but to remind her that your presence is valuable, not automatic. That's what hooks her, not endless effort. And here's the cost of not learning this. You waste years of your life chasing women who never saw you as their first choice, pouring energy into relationships that drain you, becoming bitter because kindness never got you what you thought it should. But the truth isn't that kindness fails. It's that unbalanced kindness kills desire. Only when you pair care with control, affection with restraint, warmth with indifference, do you create the kind of presence that keeps a woman addicted in a healthy, magnetic way. Have you ever done this, kept giving more attention, hoping it would finally make her stay? Tell me what happened. What's the hardest part for you, pulling back when she withdraws, or staying calm when she ignores you? Which mistake do you see yourself making the most? Be honest in the comments. You've probably noticed something strange when you look back at your past relationships. The women you wanted most seemed to drift away the moment you started giving them everything. Meanwhile, the women who were drawn to you in the beginning often couldn't get enough of you when you weren't trying hard at all. That's no accident. It's the invisible tension of power dynamics in relationships. And it's what separates men who hold a woman's attention from those who lose it without even realizing why. When a woman stays with a so-called bad boy, what she's really responding to is the emotional polarity he creates. He doesn't cater to her every mood. He doesn't edit himself to be agreeable. He shows the raw, unapologetic version of who he is. And whether she loves it or hates it in the moment, she can't ignore it. He's unpredictable, and unpredictability fuels her nervous system with a steady drip of adrenaline. That's why she stays, even when he disappoints her. Because deep down, she feels something around him that she can't manufacture around a man who's always available and agreeable, a spark of uncertainty. Here's how it plays out in real life. You're on a date. You lean in. You smile constantly. You ask question after question. She smiles politely, but something in her eyes is distant. You're doing what you think is right, showing interest, showing care, making sure she knows you're invested. But she feels no tension. There's no edge, no space for her to feel the pull of your presence. The bad boy, on the other hand, sits back. He lets silence hang. He doesn't rush to fill every gap. When she speaks, he listens. But he doesn't validate every word. His body language says, I'm enjoying this, but I don't need this. And that subtle difference shifts everything. She leaves the date thinking about him, wondering what he's thinking, wanting to prove herself to him. That's the emotional hook you've been missing. Now, let's bring it down to strategy. You must stop equating effort with value. A man's value isn't proven by how much attention he gives. It's proven by how much attention he withholds. Not in cruelty, but in discernment. When she sends a half-hearted text, you don't chase. When she pulls away, you don't collapse. When she tests your patience, you don't explain, justify, or plead. You let her feel the natural consequence of distance. Your attention fades. That contrast forces her to adjust, to chase, to invest, and that ironically, is what makes her stay. Think of it this way. Every interaction with a woman is like a scale. On one side is your investment, on the other side is hers. When you pile on too much constant texting, endless compliments, dropping everything for her, you tip the scale until she feels no need to invest. She relaxes because the tension is gone. The bad boy never tips the scale that far. Sometimes he even makes her carry more weight, and she gladly does it because the imbalance keeps her emotionally engaged. If you want her desire, you must let the scale balance or even tilt toward her sometimes. That's when she feels the pull to give, to prove, to pursue. Here's a concrete example. She cancels plans last minute. The average man, afraid of losing her, responds with forgiveness. It's okay, maybe another time, or worse. He tries to reschedule immediately. How about tomorrow then? The bad boy doesn't do that. He simply withdraws. He might not even reply right away. Later, he responds short and cool, all right, and then he moves on. Suddenly, she feels the shift. Instead of being rewarded for cancelling, she's left with the discomfort of his indifference. That discomfort makes her chase the next time. If you want to apply this, here's the move when she cancels. Accept it without drama, but don't offer a new plan. Wait. If she's interested, she'll come back. And if she doesn't, you saved yourself from wasting more effort on someone who wasn't invested. The internal cost of not learning this lesson is devastating. You'll keep convincing yourself that you just need to find the right girl, or be more patient, or prove yourself harder. But the cycle repeats. You over-invest. She pulls away, you explain yourself, and she loses respect. Every time this happens, you lose a little more confidence, a little more edge. You start doubting your worth. When the real problem was never you, it was your strategy. You gave away tension, the very thing that keeps her emotionally locked in. The shift begins when you accept this simple truth. Her desire doesn't grow when you give her everything. It grows when she has to earn you, when she feels the possibility of losing you, when your presence is valuable enough that she fears its absence. That's the quiet power of restraint. That's the hidden desire the bad boy taps into without trying. And that's the power you can learn, without playing games, without being cruel just by reclaiming your center and refusing to overgive. So ask yourself this: have you ever noticed a woman chasing you more when you pulled back? Did you ruin it by leaning in too quickly once she returned? What's harder for you, staying calm in silence, or walking away from half-hearted effort? Share your story in the comments. The deeper you look, the more you realize this isn't about good guys versus bad guys. It's about polarity. The reason women stay with men who seem careless or even reckless is because those men trigger something primal, the feeling that they might lose him. And loss, real or imagined, is the most powerful driver of desire. If she feels certain she has you, she relaxes. If she feels she could lose you, she fights for you. That tension is the hook, and it works better than any words, any gifts, any promises you could ever offer. Here's what you've probably experienced. You meet a woman and things start strong. She seems engaged. She laughs at your jokes. She responds quickly. You feel like you're finally winning. But then, a few weeks in, you start investing more. You clear your schedule for her. You text her as soon as you wake up and right before you sleep. You subtly start adjusting your life around her moods, and slowly, her energy shifts. She replies later. She seems distracted. She's less affectionate. You panic, thinking, what did I do wrong? But the truth is, you did too much. You erased the tension that kept her engaged. You made yourself predictable. You gave her the certainty she secretly didn't want. Meanwhile, the man she can't resist, the one she complains about, yet always returns to, never gave her that certainty. He left gaps. He lived his life without rearranging it for her. He made her wait. He didn't need to explain. And those gaps are exactly what her mind filled with obsession. While you were writing paragraphs, he was sending 2 words. While you were available every Friday night, he sometimes disappeared until Sunday. And while you were trying to secure her love, he was secure in himself. That's why she stayed, even when she hated herself for it, because he gave her the emotional experience she craved, the high of winning him back, again and again. So, what does this mean for you in practice? It means you must break your addiction to reassurance. You think that if you just explain yourself better, if you just keep showing up, she'll finally see your worth. But every explanation drains your power. Every extra effort without reciprocation makes her feel less drawn to you. You need to reverse the pattern. When she pulls back, you don't ask why. When she's vague, you don't press. When she's cold, you don't compensate with warmth. You let the silence breathe. You let the gap stand. And in that gap, she either chooses to move closer or she reveals that she was never really invested. Either way, you win, because you've stopped trying to force what should flow. Let's look at a common trap: attention withdrawal. A woman who feels you're too invested will often test your strength by pulling away. Maybe she stops texting first. Maybe she takes longer to respond. Maybe she says she's busy when she used to make time. This is the moment most men fail. They sense her distance, and they rush in to fill it. They double text, they ask, "Is everything okay?" They try to prove their value through persistence, but that's exactly what she was testing. She wanted to see if your world would collapse when she stepped back. The bad boy passes this test effortlessly because he doesn't even register it. He's too focused on himself. You must learn to do the same. When she withdraws, don't chase. Match her pace. If she invests less, you invest less. If she stops moving, you stop too. This signals one thing: I don't need your attention to remain who I am. That message keeps her hooked far longer than any declaration of love. Here's a real example. A guy is dating a woman who suddenly starts responding with 1-word texts. He panics, thinking she's losing interest. So he floods her with energy. Is something wrong? Did I upset you? I really like you. I just want to understand. She feels smothered. She pulls back even more. Contrast that with another man in the same situation. She sends a dry reply. He simply doesn't respond until she engages properly. When she notices his silence, she feels unsettled. Why isn't he chasing me? Did I lose his attention? That discomfort makes her re-engage because she realizes she could lose him. Same situation, different response, different outcome. The internal cost of not mastering this dynamic is huge. You'll keep handing over your self-worth to women who were never truly invested. You'll keep replaying the same story: she was so into me at first, and then she faded. You'll convince yourself women are confusing, when the truth is brutally simple: you gave away tension. And without tension, desire dies. The shift you need is not to become manipulative, but to become untouchable. To let women feel the natural consequences of their actions, without you compensating, without you begging, without you explaining. That's how you earn respect. That's how you keep attraction alive. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in that trap where she pulled back and you pushed harder? Did it work, or did it make things worse? What's more difficult for you, holding back when you want to explain, or walking away when she stops investing? Drop your story in the comments. At some point, you have to face the truth: women don't stay with bad boys because they're blind, or stupid, or secretly broken. They stay because those men make them feel something most good men don't. It's not about cruelty, it's about presence, risk, and the intoxicating mix of uncertainty and confidence. And unless you learn to embody those traits without losing your integrity, you'll always find yourself wondering why your loyalty and effort never translate into desire. Think about it like this. Attraction isn't a checklist, it's a current. It's electricity. The bad boy generates it naturally because he doesn't censor himself. He says what he wants. He does what he wants. And he lets her deal with the reality of who he is. That raw authenticity is both frustrating and magnetic. The nice guy, on the other hand, polishes every word. He tiptoes around conflict. He makes sure she's never uncomfortable, and in doing so, he strips away the very friction that creates electricity. Without that friction, she feels safe, but she doesn't feel alive, and aliveness is what she craves most. Now let's get tactical. One of the biggest mistakes men make is over-explaining. You feel a woman pulling back, and your instinct is to clarify, to reassure, to spell out your intentions. I just want you to know I care. I didn't mean to upset you. I'm really serious about us. You think you're building trust, but what you're actually doing is bleeding tension out of the interaction. Contrast this with a man who says nothing, who holds his frame. She tests. He doesn't react. She pulls back. He lets her. That silence unsettles her, makes her wonder, makes her lean back in. That's not cruelty, it's discipline. And discipline is what separates men who get respect from men who get walked over. Here's an example. A woman says, "I don't know if I'm ready for something serious." The average man hears this and scrambles. "That's okay. I'll wait. Take your time. I'll prove myself." In that moment, he signs his own death warrant. He just told her, "My value depends on your decision." The bad boy, he shrugs. "Cool. Do your thing." And he pulls back. That response flips everything. Suddenly, she's unsettled. Instead of feeling like she's in control, she feels like she might lose him. And now she's the one chasing. If you want to apply this, here's the rule when she gives you uncertainty. Don't fight to fix it. Mirror it. Hold your ground. Let her feel the weight of possibly losing you. Another trap over availability. You think being there every time she calls proves your worth. It doesn't. It signals that your time isn't valuable. The bad boy is scarce not because he's trying to play games, but because his life doesn't revolve around her. That scarcity is intoxicating. You can create it by living a life that doesn't pause for her moods. When she texts last minute, you don't always drop everything. When she flakes, you don't offer endless second chances. When she tests, you don't bend. Every time you do this, you reinforce one message: I choose you, but I don't need you. That balance is what keeps attraction alive. The cost of ignoring this truth is heavy. You become the man who invests years into women who never saw him as their first choice. You become the man who mistakes loyalty for love, who mistakes patience for power, who mistakes effort for attraction, and slowly you start to resent women when in reality, the resentment should be aimed at yourself for refusing to see the game being played. The bad boy isn't winning because he's better. He's winning because he understands instinctively what you refuse to admit, that desire is born from risk, not safety. But here's the beauty. You don't need to abandon your integrity to learn this. You don't need to treat women poorly. You don't need to play manipulative games. You just need to reclaim your center. Stop giving away certainty. Stop apologizing for silence. Stop begging for reassurance. Learn to enjoy the tension of not always knowing where you stand. Learn to let her invest. Learn to hold back even when every part of you wants to lean in. That restraint, that quiet strength, is more seductive than anything you could say. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed that the less available you were, the more she seemed to want you? Did you ruin it by giving too much too soon once she leaned in? What's harder for you, sitting in the silence, or walking away when she doesn't match your effort? Be honest and share in the comments. And here's where the final layer reveals itself. It's not that women want chaos for the sake of chaos. What they want is the feeling of being swept into something bigger than themselves. The so-called bad boy gives her that because he refuses to make her the center of his universe. His life has gravity. She orbits him, not the other way around. And that orbit keeps her locked in because deep down she knows if she disappears, his world keeps spinning. That realization keeps her chasing because her deepest fear isn't that he'll hurt her, it's that he doesn't need her. This is where most men collapse. You build your entire identity around her. You cancel plans. You shrink your ambitions. You mute your voice just to keep her comfortable. And at first, she may appreciate the attention. But over time, she feels the weight of being the center of your world. And it suffocates her. She starts looking for the fire you used to have, the spark that drew her in, and she can't find it, so she withdraws. Meanwhile, the man she can't seem to leave, even when she knows he's trouble, never gave her that weight to carry. His ambition, his purpose, his direction, all of it remains untouched by her moods. She enters his life, but she doesn't consume it. That separation is what makes her stay. Let's make this tactical. If you want to break the cycle, you must create and protect your own gravity. That means your work, your fitness, your passions, your social circle, they remain priorities no matter what. If she tries to pull you away from them, you don't cave. If she demands more of you than you can give, you don't apologize. You simply hold the line, because the moment she sees you abandon your own center, she loses respect. But when she sees you hold your ground, she feels both challenged and secure. Challenged because she knows she must earn her place in your world. Secure because she senses that your strength doesn't depend on her approval. Here's a concrete example. You're about to hit the gym, and she calls wanting to talk. The average man drops everything. Sure, I'll skip today. Let's talk. He thinks he's proving care, but he's actually signaling that his own standards are negotiable. The bad boy, he says, I'll call you after my workout. Simple, firm, not cruel. And what happens? She respects it. She may pout in the moment, but she feels the subtle truth: this man doesn't bend for me. And that respect builds desire far stronger than endless availability ever could. If you want her to stay, let her feel that your life is already full and she's there because you chose her, not because you had nothing else. Another scenario. She tries to provoke jealousy by mentioning other men. The insecure man reacts immediately, either by interrogating her or overcompensating with affection. That reaction hands her the control. The man with gravity doesn't flinch. He listens, maybe smirks, maybe changes the subject. His indifference unsettles her because she expected him to break. Instead, he remains centered, and she realizes her games have no power. That realization is what pulls her closer, because the deepest desire isn't to control a man, it's to feel the immovable presence of one she can't control. And this is where the cost becomes clear. If you don't master this, you'll spend your life as the man who women appreciate but never crave. You'll be remembered as the one who cared, but not the one she couldn't forget. You'll watch her return, again and again, to men who seemed reckless. When the truth was simpler, they had gravity, and you didn't. The bitterness that grows from that will eat away at you unless you shift now. Unless you decide that your life is the center, that no woman's approval is worth losing yourself, that the only way to hold her is to never need to. So here's the pivot stop asking, how do I make her stay? Start asking, How do I stay centered, no matter what she does? Because the moment you can answer that, you'll stop losing women to men you secretly despise. You'll stop feeling confused by her choices, and you'll start living in a way that naturally draws her in, not because you chased her, but because she felt your strength and couldn't walk away. So tell me this, have you ever abandoned your goals or routines just to keep a woman happy? Did it work, or did it backfire? What's harder for you, protecting your own standards, or saying no when she tests your limits? Share your story in the comments. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.